It has been 2 years since Sunset Shimmer had returned to Ponyville. After that she had been complete her studying in the other world. She returned to Ponyville, or at least Equestria, for a short time. She was staying in Ponyville at the castle, but after living there for only about a week or two, she was offered by Twilight to be a teacher at her school, and she accepted it right away. She became a teacher about friendship and even how about in magic. All the students loved her, but there was one thing that Sunset had even done after she returned, and that was seeing her old friend Blackcat. Blackcat and Sunset had been close friends, best friends, ever since they were in Phyllis. They went to the same school together. They even went to Celestia's gifted school of unicorn together, and at the same time when Sunset was chosen to be Celestia's personal student. But also sometimes after that she ran away to the other world and returned, they hadn't even been spoken. Sunset was very curious how things had turned out for her old best friend, but at the same time she was scared to talk to her. She thought maybe Sunset was really afraid that her best friend maybe doesn't even like her anymore. Like she would despite her, hate her, like abandon her like that. It was just for a strange reason. And Sunset, she had explained to some to Twilight and some of her friends about this, but they tried to convince her to go back to Canterlot to see her friend. But she didn't want to do that. She tried to move on in her life. But one day, when she came back to the castle after a walk, she saw that Twilight was talking to some pony, and that she immediately recognized the voice, and it was actually Blackcat. It turned out that Blackcat had been informed by Celestia that her old friend had returned and now was living in Ponyville. She was a bit surprised that her friend has returned and not even informed her, and that but when Sunset returned, she heard at Sunset that Twilight was talking to Blackcat, saying that Sunset was very afraid that if she did meeting her old friend, she would hate her because after that she ran away. But Blackcat did mention that she could never hate her old best friend. In fact, there was something more to her. Sunset means just more than a friend to her. And it turned out Blackcat had a big crush on her old friend. She had a crush on her since they went to the same school, like in the first grade. That shocked Sunset, but she decided to leave the castle just in case if they was bothering her, and she managed to leave the castle quietly. She sat in the park for the next few hours, just trying to process what she heard back in the castle, like her old best friend had a crush on her. She was really surprised at any of this, even though that she herself had a very much big a crush on her old friend. But she thought maybe that Blackcat didn't want to like her the same way. In that way, she didn't tell anyone, even her old friend. But as the sun was getting down after several hours, Sunset was forced to return back to the castle. She thought maybe Blackcat had left by now, since it has been several hours before she went to the park. But in fact, Blackcat hasn't even left. And it turned out Twilight had offered her to stay in castle as long as she wanted. And that surprised her. Blackcat was happy to see her old friend, Even Sunset was happy to see her. She walked up to her friend, gave her a hug, and said that she was tired and she's going back to bed. And Twilight said, "Aren't you getting hungry for dinner? Spike is almost done with it." But she said no, she was just tired. It has been a long day. So they decided to just maybe talk tomorrow. But the next day, Sunset left the castle early in the morning, before the others had even woken up. The sun hadn't even yet get up yet. She went around the town, maybe just walking around. Around noon, when she had ended up at the Sweet Apple Acres, she was curious to have at least some other pony's opinion about what to do. And she wanted to have the most best option, the best opinion for one of her best friends, Applejack. Since Applejack is the most honest of all her friends, and she would give her honest opinion. And of course, Applejack was working. But when she saw Sunset, she asked her if she had a moment that she could talk. And of course, Applejack said just a moment that she had to take care of some of this work first. After that Applejack was finished, they both sat down and started talking. And Applejack was listening to Sunset was talking. After she was done, Applejack's opinion only is a thought to say, if you really love her so much, Ricky, you should tell her. Even that she has a crush on you, you know that she likes you more than anything. Even that Sunset didn't know what to do, or even if she even should tell her friend. That surprised Applejack. Since everything had known Sunset, she thought maybe that Sunset would have been at least open-minded to tell her old friend. But Sunset said that she needed some time to figure out how to tell her. And at least give her maybe a day or two, said Applejack. Of course, Sunset thanked Applejack for her help and her opinion, and she went back to the castle. Even when she was walking back home, all that she could thought of was Blackcat. Blackcat and Sunset has been so old friends, and her love for Blackcat has been so strong. But there was something about Blackcat that she couldn't put her hoof on it. But when she went back to the castle, everything was working quite well between them. After that, she went back to the castle. She finds Blackcat was alone. The others had left the castle by an hour ago. So Sunset asked Blackcat if she wanted to take a walk, since they hadn't even spent any time together, and the Blackcat wouldn't like that. So as they walked around the town, she explained some of the things that had happened to her in the other world, what she experienced, and of course, as Blackcat also explained, what had happened in her life. She explained that she had recently been engaged with a stallion, and they had been together for at least 3 years until she discovered she was being cheated on, and that broke her heart. She was convinced that this stallion was her true love and they was going to be married and have a family together. But no, after that she found out that he had been cheating on her, she could not explain it. She threw him out and broke off the engagement and informed her family and friends what had happened, and they all froze him out. They didn't want to even have anything to do with him. Even his own family had disowned him, or at least made him sort of outcast for a while. He tried to go back to the Black Cat to try to take her back, but she refused. And then she explains that the reason after that he did it, she had found out of her own passion. her own love for somebody else. It was only shortly after that she realized her love was meant for somebody else. And she then Sunset asked who, and she said it was for her. Sunset didn't blush, and that reaction is some reaction that some Blackcat was expecting, but and she wasn't even surprised. She asked if she knew. Sunset explained that she did actually find out when she went back to castle the day before and heard them talking that she talked to Twilight, and that surprised her. But Sunset then explained that she was willing to give them a chance to be together if Blackcat wanted to, which she did actually. So they said that they wanted to give it a try to be together, and as just after they did that, Blackcat leaned forward and gave Sunset a kiss. That surprised her though, but she actually didn't step away from her. In fact, she even kissed her back. And when they went back to the castle, they actually informed Twilight and Spike about this new relationship. Even Sunset was very happy, but at the same time taking cautious about this new relationship. She didn't want to ruin it so quickly, because her love for Black Cat was so strong that she wanted to be with her. And Black Cat, she loved her so much more than anything. They spent the next few days together, but unfortunately, Black Cat had returned back to Canterlot to be working. She was working as a nurse in Canterlot's hospital, and after she had informed her own family about she been dating Black Cat, they were all surprised. They thought maybe that she would probably wait to be dating some pony after what her ex-fiance did to her. But they actually knew about Sunset, and they trusted her, since Black Cat and Sunset had been friends for a long time, and they trusted her. So within about the next few months after they had been dating, Sunset had actually been invited by Black Cat's parents over for dinner in Canterlot. And that was the first time when she met Black Cat's parents when to be quite nervous. Even she had met her parents several times before, but this time was the first, as since Sunset had been dating Black Cat, and since this is going to be the first meeting with her parents as the relationship. Of course, it went well, but after they had been dating for about a year, something started to happen. But before that, Black Cat had moved away from Canterlot and started working in Ponyville as a nurse. But sometimes after that she had moved there and lived in her own small house with Sunset, something did start to happen. Gifts started to show up at the door. First with some flowers, chocolate, or small gifts like a teddy bear or something. Of course, there was something that about this that made Black Cat a little bit curious who made giving her these gifts. She thought maybe Sunset had been doing this in secret, and that she didn't want to tell Sunset that she knew about this. So she didn't tell Sunset about these gifts. But since these gifts had been started showing up, first with just some flowers, candy, or a small teddy bear or something. But it happened a few times that there were no gifts at all for a short time, and then started coming back again. And the same thing repeated for the next couple of months. And Sunset, she one morning walked out to get the newspaper, morning paper, when she stepped on some roses outside the door. She was a little bit surprised why some pony had left some roses outside the door. So she took them mine, she took them in, and she even asked Blackcat if she had no idea if she had ordered these flowers to be left by the door, but she said no. She thought maybe that she even said that she thought Sunset had been placing these gifts outside the door for her. No, I hadn't even done that. But then Sunset was very surprised and mostly shocked when Blackcat gave this statement. But I thought you left all these gifts for me for the past few months. Wait, gifts? What gifts? And then she started explaining. For the past 2 months, some pony, as she thought at first was Sunset, have leaving flowers, candy, or even teddy bears outside the door. Even has a note with the name for Blackcat from Sigrid and Meyer. Every single time she believed it was from Sunset. But now Sunset had revealed she had never done it. So both started questioning themselves. Who had done it? And for what purpose? The most ponies in town knows that Sunset and Blackcat have been dating. But who can have been done with doing it? They thought who? Who? So they started asking around a few friends if they had doing this as a prank or some sort of anything. But no pony in town had no idea. They even went to the local post office to say, ask Derpy or even Gabby if they have any idea. But but they asked if they had any boxes left that could telling them. And luckily, Blackcat has saved the last box that she received with a teddy bear and some candy. She went back home and get it to Derpy. And they checked the box, but they had no postmark on it, no shipping marks at all. So this box and the previous ones hasn't been delivered by the post service. So this pony, or at least any pony, have been delivering these gifts or these boxes, have been doing it by themselves. And since they had asked all their friends in town, and all that they have been said that they had never done it or have no idea what they're talking about, but all their friends were checked out. And of course, there cannot have been any pony else who have done it. So he wonders, will this continue? Maybe they can try to catch this pony in action. And they decided to wait. For the next couple of days, they waited at the door, either Blackcat or Sunset, in the morning, to wait to see who this pony were doing it. But nothing happened. They thought maybe this pony had just stopped or just given up to try to win Blackcat's heart. But one morning when they both was waiting, they saw, or at least heard, some pony outside the door, and this first they thought maybe it was this newspaper, the paper boy, the paper pony delivering the newspaper. But they heard there's some sort of box on the ground, so they quickly opened the door, and it turned out to be Blackcat's ex-fiance. When he found out, turns out, after they asked him why he had been doing this for the past 2 months, and it turned out, after he had heard about Blackcat had moved to Ponyville, and she was dating her old friend Sunset Shimmer, he was furious. How could she move on so quickly, and especially dating a man, somebody that she knew? He thought maybe that she deserved to be with him. So he tried to give her some of the gifts and tried to convince her, or at least trying to make her to realize, or at least trying the hope that a spark between her and her ex-fiance couldn't have worked. He thought maybe that she would realize this gift was from him, or at least try to figure out who this secret admirer could have been, or that she thought he said this gift was actually meant for Sunset. But unfortunately, my love for you was so strong that I forgot to even change the name. And it turned out his original plan was to send this gift to Sunset, and that Blackcat was supposed to open a door every single time, which he had hoped for, finding these gifts, at least the packages, with the name filled to Sunset. And when she opened it, he believed that she would open it and find these gifts, candy, flowers, or a teddy bear from someone else, like some sort of secret admirer or perhaps a secret boyfriend or girlfriend. And that he had hope if Sunset's the Black Cat find out about this, they would have had a fight, and that she would leave her, and then he had a chance to go back to be with Black Cat. But unfortunately, all his plans failed after he realized after his mistake when putting the name of Black Cat rather from Sunsets. And after all this had happened, when one morning when Sunset finds these gifts, at least the flowers, and he was told by Sunset calmly, "You should leave her alone. You know that she didn't want to be with you. She's happy to be with me. And there are a lot of more mares out there. And just try to be yourselves and never try to be a stalking or perhaps even a cheater. If you don't do if you stop doing that, it will help you to find your true love." And Sunset was just standing by Black Cat's side, and Black Cat said the same thing. But her ex-fiance tried once more to try to convince her to go back and be with him. But she refused. So there was nothing else he could do. He then said that he was sorry and he wished her happiness and just left. And in fact, it was the last time both of them heard or even seen from him. Sometimes after this whole event, Sunset and Black Cat were just happy to move on from this event and just be happy. Even Sunset had said to Black Cat, she never doubted a single moment that Black Cat would go back to her ex-fiance, and that made Black Cat happy to hear. And in fact, a couple of weeks later, Sunset actually proposed to Black Cat. Even they had only been together for about a few months and living together for a few months. They thought it was the right time to do this because they had known each other for years. But Black Cat actually said yes, and she was just happy to be with Sunset. Even all the friends and families were just so excited. Even Sunset later had asked Twilight to be her bridesmaid, and even Black Cat had asked Rarity to be her bridesmaid. Even at the party after the wedding, both families could see how happy both Sunset and Black Cat were together. And later, after the party though, they both went to Las Pegasus for about a week for honeymoon, where they both had a great time with enjoyed the rides and magical shows and even romantic dinners. They decided to be happy to be with one. Even they still lived in Ponyville in the same house. And after 2 years of being married, Sunset and Blackcat thought they were ready to have a family, so they had asked Twilight for help. And turns out, with her help, Sunset decided to be a mother first, and she later had a boy. And 3 years later, Blackcat chosen to be a mother, and she had a daughter. Both Sunset and Blackcat could not have been more happier to be with the one they loved the most of all. If that her ex-fiance's plan had worked, Sunset would have lost her future wife. But even if that Sunset didn't had found out about Blackcat's true feelings towards her when she came to see her for the first time in several years. She was just happy that Sunset had the same feelings towards her, and that the both of them was actually just happy that they revealed their true feelings towards each other. Even Sunset, of all this, was just happy to be with the one she loved all the most in the whole world. And that's how Sunset Shimmer and Blackcat found a true love and got a big family. The end.